Let's be real, most of you are losing in silence. You wake up every day telling yourself you're on your grind, telling yourself you've got purpose, but the second a girl enters the room, everything collapses. Suddenly your gym sessions aren't as important, your priorities shift, your routines bend, and you don't even see it happening. You were focused, you were sharp, you were on the edge of leveling up, but now you're checking your phone more than your goals. You're letting attention replace obsession, and you wonder why nothing feels right anymore. I don't care how good she looks, I don't care how sweet she talks, I don't care how much she makes you feel alive. If she's distracting you from becoming the man you said you'd be, she's not a blessing, she's a test. And most of you are failing. You weren't put on this earth to impress women. You were put here to conquer your vision, to bleed for your mission, to scare people with how dialed in you are. But you traded your fire for a feeling. You traded your potential for a pair of eyes that looked your way. And now you're stuck in this loop, half focused, half broken, half driven. That's not masculine. That's not leadership. That's not how warriors are built. This is the wake-up call. Because if you don't fix this now, if you don't cut the noise and reclaim your fire, you're going to look back in 5 years and not even recognize the version of you that was supposed to win. Chasing her attention will cost you your purpose. You start with something pure, you start with drive, obsession, chaos that you can barely contain. There's a fire in your chest and it doesn't let you sleep. You feel like you were built for something greater. You walk around with headphones on, visualizing the life you want. You work in silence. You show up to the gym. You grind on your business. You learn. You sharpen yourself like a weapon. And then suddenly, she enters the picture. She's beautiful. She makes you feel seen. She tells you she's never met someone like you. For the first time in a while, you let your guard down. Not because you're weak, but because it's human to crave connection. You let her into the kingdom you've been building. And that's when the test begins. You don't even notice it at first. Your morning routine starts shifting. You stay up later to talk. You push your training session back. You tell yourself it's just one day. But one day becomes 3, then a week, then a month. And before you even realize it, she's no longer orbiting your life. You're orbiting hers. You think you're still the same man, but your standards have slipped. Your attention is split. Your focus is infected. And the worst part, you justify it to yourself. You say she's worth it. But deep down you feel it. That voice in your gut that used to scream, now it whispers. That obsession you had, it's drowning under comfort. When you chase her attention, you give up leadership. You stop being the one creating momentum. You become the one reacting to it. Her texts, her moods, her validation, those things begin to dictate your emotions. And if a woman controls your emotions, she controls your life. You think you're chasing love, but you're actually running from your discipline. You were never supposed to slow down for her. She was supposed to catch up to you. If you're not careful, you'll wake up one day and realize you're no longer building anything. You're maintaining comfort, maintaining her approval, maintaining a false image of masculinity that looks soft on the outside and dead on the inside. No woman is worth trading your vision for. Not because women don't matter, but because you do. Your mission matters more than temporary affection, more than butterflies, more than late night calls that steal your mornings, more than the dopamine hit of her laughing at your story. These things feel real, but they're not rooted in purpose. They're distractions wrapped in affection. And the second you give them your full attention, your empire begins to rot from the inside. The men you admire, the killers, the high performers, they don't chase attention, they command it. And they do that by staying locked in, by building silently, by becoming undeniable. Because when you chase her attention, she loses respect for you. She might not say it, but she feels it. A man who's obsessed with her can't be obsessed with himself. And a man who isn't obsessed with himself will never have the power to lead. You want to know why most relationships fall apart? Because the man stops leading. He starts pleasing. He starts chasing her emotions instead of managing his own. And eventually, she stops feeling safe. Not physically, mentally. Because she knows she's with a man who traded his crown for a kiss on the forehead. You don't have to be cruel. You don't have to be distant. But you have to be clear. Clear on your goals. Clear on your values. Clear on your routine. If she fits into it, perfect. If not, you keep moving. Because your mission doesn't take a day off for romance. Your purpose doesn't pause for attention. Every second you spend chasing her is a second you could have spent upgrading your mind, your body, your business, your network. She's not the enemy, but comfort is. And attention seeking is just comfort in disguise. You think you're being romantic, but what you're actually doing is bleeding, slowly, quietly, one ignored gym session at a time, one skipped reading session, one late start to your morning, one moment of silence where your inner voice is begging you to snap out of it. And that's the scary part. It doesn't happen all at once. You don't notice it until it's too late, until she leaves anyway. And you're left standing in the ruins of the empire you stopped building for her. That's when you'll realize you didn't lose her, you lost yourself. And no girl is worth that trade. A man without a mission is already lost. When a man wakes up with no reason to move, he dies a slow death. Maybe not physically, maybe not instantly, but something inside of him collapses. There's a stillness that feels like peace, but it's actually decay. Purpose isn't some romantic ideal, it's oxygen for masculine energy. Without a mission, you become soft, confused, restless. You become a man who seeks distractions, cheap highs, pointless arguments, validation from women, because there's no North Star in your life keeping you focused. And if you don't know where you're going, you'll follow anyone who acts like they do. You were designed to pursue something, build something, earn something. You need challenge, you need direction, you need something to sharpen yourself against. When you remove that from your life, you start collapsing into yourself. that's when depression creeps in. That's when your confidence starts leaking. That's when your words lose weight. Your walk loses power. Your eyes lose fire. You start reacting to life instead of controlling it. You start moving based on feelings instead of principles. And feelings lie. Feelings are fleeting. Purpose isn't. A man with no mission is dangerous to himself. He becomes addicted to pleasure, addicted to validation, addicted to comfort. And those things are poison to masculine energy. When you're not building, you're decaying. There is no middle. Every day you wake up and choose whether you want to ascend or fall behind. And it doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as hitting snooze, as subtle as skipping a session, as quiet as telling yourself, I'll do it later. But it adds up. And before you know it, you're numb. You're scrolling all day, watching other men live the life you were supposed to claim. You'll start resenting everything. Resenting the girl who left. Resenting the friends who are winning. Resenting life itself. But deep down, you're not mad at them. You're mad at you, because you know you were built for more. You know you used to be hungry. You know there was a time you wouldn't tolerate this version of yourself. But without a mission, that old version fades, and you're left with a ghost of the man you promised yourself you'd become. You think love will fix it. You think the right girl will make you feel alive again. But no woman can resurrect a man who's killed his mission. You can't replace purpose with intimacy. You can't replace vision with affection. You can't escape your calling by hiding in her comfort. You have to wake up. You have to lock in. You have to create war inside your soul, until discipline beats desire every time, until your mission screams louder than your need for pleasure, until the man in the mirror respects you again. You don't need a relationship. You need purpose. You need a mountain to climb. You need pain to push you. You need early mornings and late nights and solitude so loud it forces you to listen to your soul, because only then do you find direction. And when you find that, you become dangerous again. Focused, sharp, magnetic. The kind of man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't bend, because he's too busy becoming. That's when your presence starts speaking louder than your words. That's when people start following your lead. That's when women stop testing you and start respecting you. Without a mission, you're just drifting, waiting for life to decide your future. But you weren't built to drift. You were built to dominate. So find your mission. Lock into it like your life depends on it, because it does. And never let a woman, a friend, or even your own doubt pull you off it. Stay on the path, no matter how lonely it gets, no matter who leaves, because the man who stays locked in will always win in the end. Validation from women should never be your fuel. There's a very subtle but very dangerous trap that most men fall into early in life. It doesn't matter how ambitious you are, how disciplined you are, or how focused you think you are. If the core reason behind all of it is to impress women, you've already lost. Because the second your motivation depends on someone else's recognition, you've handed over the keys to your progress. And no matter how far you climb, it's never really yours. That's why so many guys look successful on paper, but feel empty behind the scenes. Because everything they built was never for them. It was to prove something to someone else. And most of the time that someone was a girl. The reason this is dangerous is because female validation is temporary by nature. You can chase it, you can collect it, but it never lasts. The attention you got last month fades. The praise you got last week disappears. It's a moving target. And once you get addicted to that hit, to that dopamine spike from her liking your story, complimenting your body, calling you different, you start changing your entire identity to keep it coming. You start editing yourself, not for truth, not for legacy, but for applause. And once you go down that path, you stop building from power and start building from weakness. Because now your self-worth depends on how she sees you. That's not masculine. That's not leadership. That's performance. That's you becoming an actor in your own life. You say you're working hard, but your real goal is just to be seen. You say you're leveling up, but the reason behind it isn't inner evolution, it's external validation. You're letting her opinions dictate your intensity. You're letting her compliments become your fuel. You're letting her presence become your reason. And that's where everything collapses. Because the moment she stops clapping, you stop pushing. The moment she gets bored, you get lost. And the moment she leaves, you fall apart. The men who actually win long-term are the ones who build in silence, who train when nobody's watching, who stay consistent whether they're getting attention or not, who don't post every small win because they're too busy chasing the next mountain. These men are rare because it's easy to grind when you're being watched. It's easy to be disciplined when you know it'll earn you a compliment. But true power is doing it when no one cares, when no one sees, when no one is clapping. That's when you separate the real from the fake. That's when you find out who's truly committed and who's just performing for praise. You don't need her to validate you. You need to validate yourself. Through action, through progress, through relentless consistency, through quiet confidence that doesn't need to be announced. That's the energy women actually respect. Not the guy who's constantly chasing her attention, but the one who's too locked in to care. The one who doesn't need her approval because he's already earned his own. That's the kind of man who can walk into any room and command respect without even opening his mouth. Because he's not looking for anything. He's not needing anything. He's just there, unshakable, rooted. When you detach from needing validation, everything shifts. You stop overthinking. You stop comparing. You stop bending. You start doing things because they matter to you. You start choosing habits that align with your mission. You start building for the long haul instead of short-term applause. And ironically, that's when people start noticing. That's when women become curious. That's when your energy becomes undeniable. Because people can feel when someone is truly independent. They can sense when a man doesn't need anything from them. And that's attractive, not just to women, but to everyone. You want to stop losing in life, stop doing things for her, start doing them for you, start waking up with goals that light a fire in your chest, even if no one sees it. Start making decisions that feel right, even if no one claps. Start becoming the kind of man who doesn't just perform when there's an audience, but performs because this is who he is now. And the right people, the right opportunities, the right women, they'll show up, not because you chase them, but because you became something that could no longer be ignored. Sacrificing your edge makes you invisible. There's something about a man with an edge that can't be faked. It's the way he moves, the way he talks, the way he holds himself in silence. It's not about being loud. It's not about being aggressive. It's about presence, precision, a quiet intensity that says, I don't need to prove anything, but I'll destroy everything if I have to. That's what an edge is. It's not bravado. It's the result of discipline, pain, self-respect, and standards that cannot be negotiated. And the second you start softening that edge for a girl, you disappear. You go from dangerous to digestible, from rare to replaceable. Most men lose their edge slowly. It doesn't happen in one decision. It happens in thousands of small ones. You let her talk you out of your routine. You let her emotions dictate your reactions. You let her worldview seep into your standards. You say it's not a big deal, but it is. Because every time you say yes when you should have said no, every time you lower your voice just to avoid tension, every time you shrink to make her feel big, you are dulling the blade, and eventually it won't cut anymore. You'll look in the mirror and realize you're no longer feared, respected, or even noticed, because you've traded your edge for comfort. A man without an edge doesn't stand out. He blends in. He becomes background noise. A guy who's nice, a guy who's understanding, a guy who's easy to be around. But no one remembers that guy. No one follows that guy. And deep down, women don't want to submit to that guy. They want the man who's unshakable, who can handle pressure, who can say no, who isn't afraid to walk away, who chooses principle over peace, who will make a decision and stand on it, even if it causes conflict. That's masculinity. That's power. That's what earns real respect. But too many men throw that away the second they get a taste of female attention. They start negotiating their values. They become more agreeable, more passive, more accommodating. They think being liked is the goal. It's not. Being respected is. And you don't earn respect by being soft. You earn it by holding your frame, by being kind but never weak, compassionate but never spineless, firm but never arrogant. It's a delicate balance, and if you don't master it, the world will eat you alive. Your edge is the one thing that makes you undeniable. It's what keeps you sharp. It's what reminds the world and yourself that you're not here to be consumed. You're here to conquer. That means saying no when it's inconvenient. That means keeping your routine even when she doesn't understand. That means choosing discipline over desire every single time, because every time you compromise your edge, you lose more than just a decision. You lose part of yourself. And eventually there's nothing left but a version of you that's easy to control, easy to manipulate, easy to ignore. You weren't born to be that man. You were born to lead, to impact, to disrupt, to dominate. And domination requires strength, not just physical but mental, emotional, spiritual. You have to be the one who draws the line and enforces it, who holds the standard when no one else will, who walks away when things no longer align with the mission. And yes, that'll make you misunderstood. That'll make you disliked by some, but it will also make you unforgettable. Because a man with an edge is always remembered, even by the people who couldn't handle him. So sharpen it daily, through solitude, through training, through silence, through accountability. Protect it from comfort, from emotion, from temptation. Because once it's gone, it's hard to get back. But when you keep it, you become unstoppable. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real, grounded, focused, untouchable. The kind of man who doesn't just exist in the world. He bends it to his will. And that's the man who never goes invisible again. The right woman aligns, not redirects. A lot of men confuse attention with alignment. Just because she's showing interest doesn't mean she fits the path. Just because she's smiling at your ambition now doesn't mean she won't secretly try to steer you off course when she realizes how obsessed you are with the grind. The truth is, most women aren't built to handle the full weight of a man on a mission. Not because they're weak, but because they've never experienced a man who's willing to sacrifice everything for something bigger than love. And when they finally meet him, they either rise with him or try to tame him. That's the separation point. That's where most men fold. That's where they change directions for someone they thought would grow with them. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. Is she helping you build, or is she distracting you? Is she amplifying your purpose, or is she pulling you away from it in tiny, unnoticeable ways? It's not always about what she says. It's about the energy she brings into your life. Does she understand your late nights, your silence, your need to stay locked in? Or does she complain, create tension, test your focus? The right woman will never make you choose between her and your mission. She'll find a way to align with it. She'll respect the hustle, not compete with it. She'll adjust, support, and stay quiet when needed. Not because she's passive, but because she understands what you're becoming requires space, intensity, and ruthless consistency. If you feel like you're constantly explaining your vision to her, constantly apologizing for your goals, constantly shrinking your ambition just to keep the peace, she's not aligned. Alignment doesn't require explanation, it just fits. She sees the way you move, and she either matches it or steps back without resentment. That's rare, that's real. Because the truth is, a lot of women want a high-value man until they realize what that actually means. It means you're not always available. It means your mind is on your mission more than it is on her. It means you prioritize progress over comfort. That's when most will start trying to redirect you. They'll disguise it as love, concern, or connection, but it's control. Subtle control. Emotional manipulation in soft packaging. You're not supposed to adjust your life for love. Love is supposed to move with you. It's supposed to add fuel to your fire, not put it out. A woman who's truly aligned won't feel threatened by your obsession. She'll admire it. She won't try to become your number one focus. She'll become part of the system that supports it. She won't constantly need reassurance. She'll trust your actions. That kind of woman doesn't need you to slow down. She adapts. She upgrades with you. She doesn't clip your wings. She builds with you, side by side. No need for permission or praise. Men who are easily redirected never become legendary. They become shadows of their potential. They chase the illusion of balance when what they really need is intensity. And once you start compromising for her comfort, you begin a cycle you can't win. Because once she sees that you're willing to fold, she'll keep folding you. Not always intentionally, but it becomes a pattern. And slowly your fire dies. Your edge dulls. You become more emotional, more reactive, more uncertain. She doesn't even respect you the way she used to, but she stays because you're safe now. Predictable, average, but deep down she misses the version of you that was untouchable. The version you sacrificed for her. You have to protect your direction like your life depends on it. Because it does. You can love a woman deeply, but if she's not aligned with your vision, that love becomes weight. And the heavier it gets, the slower you move. Until one day you look up and realize you're nowhere near where you said you'd be. And the worst part is you did it to yourself. Not because you were weak, but because you didn't draw the line. You didn't demand alignment. You settled for redirection. Don't fall for the illusion of connection if it's rooted in compromise. Real alignment doesn't require you to change course. It enhances the path you're already on. And when you find that, you'll know. Because everything just moves cleaner. You feel faster, sharper, clearer. That's the energy you protect. That's the standard you keep. Because anything less will pull you off track. And a man who leaves the track for love rarely finds his way back. Emotional comfort is not worth long-term regret. It feels good in the moment, the late-night texts, the soft voice telling you everything's going to be okay, her saying she believes in you, her cuddling next to you while you scroll through your dreams instead of chasing them. In the moment, it feels right. Because as men, we're not immune to warmth. We crave it, especially after months of discipline, solitude, and cold grind. But here's the truth no one tells you. Emotional comfort is one of the most expensive things you'll ever pay for. Not in dollars, but in time, in energy, in lost potential. And the cost isn't clear until years later, when you're staring in the mirror, wondering where that dangerous version of you went. You don't realize it until it's too late. Because comfort is subtle. It wraps itself around your routine. It makes you soften slowly. You start making excuses. You tell yourself you'll get back on track after the weekend. You tell yourself this break is well deserved, that you're still working hard, but you're not. You're just comfortable. And comfort kills more dreams than failure ever will. Because failure wakes you up. Comfort keeps you asleep. You lose your edge without even noticing. You start choosing temporary peace over permanent progress. And it feels harmless until the results start fading. You stop being feared. You stop being sharp. You stop being obsessed. And she doesn't even mean to do it. She just wants to be close, to feel connected, to feel loved. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you forget that connection can't come at the cost of intensity. You forget that love doesn't mean losing your hunger. You forget that your legacy doesn't care how emotionally supported you felt in the moment. It only cares whether you built it or not. Men who chase comfort never build empires. They build relationships that trap them. And sometimes it's not even her fault. It's yours. Because you chose the easy path. You chose what felt good over what was necessary. You chose her warmth instead of the cold grind. You chose validation instead of silence. And you start telling yourself this is happiness. But it's not. It's sedation. It's spiritual numbness. Because the mission that once made your heart beat fast now barely gets your attention. You can't build anything great while being emotionally pacified. You need tension. You need war. You need hunger that burns through every excuse. And if the environment around you is too soft, too soothing, too safe, you lose that. You start becoming something less than you could be. You start trading your greatness for approval. And the worst part is, the regret doesn't show up immediately. It shows up in small doses. When you see another man winning, when you catch yourself skipping days, when you look back at an entire year and realize you didn't grow, and by then it's too late. You need to be ruthless with your energy, especially in your 20s. This is the time when most men fall off, not because they weren't smart or talented, but because they chose emotional comfort over emotional growth. They chose someone who made them feel good over a life that made them better. They wanted affection more than accountability. They wanted love more than legacy. And they wake up at 30 wondering why they're still stuck in the same cycle. The answer was back in that soft moment when they chose ease over execution. You can love someone and still outgrow them. You can be grateful for her support and still realize it's holding you back. You can appreciate her loyalty and still understand that your future demands more than just emotional comfort. It demands obsession, precision, execution, and sometimes you have to choose that over her. Not because you're heartless, but because you're serious. Because you understand that your life is not a sandbox for feelings. It's a battlefield for impact. You don't need someone to tell you it's okay. You need someone who tells you to keep going. You don't need someone who strokes your ego. You need someone who holds you to your standard. And until you find that, walk alone, grind alone, heal alone. Because emotional comfort is easy to find. But a life that makes you proud to wake up in, that's rare. And it only comes when you're willing to sacrifice the soft path for the sharp one. The one where regret isn't even an option. Because you've burned everything behind you that would have made quitting feel okay. The truth is, no one's coming to save you from your softness. No woman, no mentor, no motivational video, it's on you. You either choose the mission or you keep choosing comfort. You either let the pressure sharpen you or you let the comfort sedate you. That's the fork in the road. You already know what comfort gives you. Peace in the short term, pain in the long term. Numbness disguised as happiness. That's how your dreams die. That's how your legacy fades. You want to be remembered? You want to be feared? You want to command your space, own your energy, and leave people wondering how you became what you became? Then you better walk away from anyone that's pulling you off your track. This life doesn't reward the man who blends in. It rewards the one who kept building, kept pushing, even when it hurt, even when it got lonely, even when it made no sense to anyone else. She might love the soft version of you, but the world only respects the sharp one.